The swamp is back, and we, the taxpayers, get to pay for it. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 21st. My goodness, how time flies when you're having fun. And, well, you wanted it, you got it. We're back in full swamp mode with all the BS that floats around and everything that's going on around here. And, I mean, you know, from the stupid, ridiculous stimulus packages that we are seeing, which create nothing but more debt, to the bond markets fighting the Federal Reserve. And you know the bond market is going to win. Okay, so we'll get into all this and more as we get into the show. In the meantime, this first part of the show is brought to you by our friends at the CTG Group. Of course, they are our preferred broker. We have many brokers, but they are preferred for our letter of direction futures portfolio program. They do a great job with great customer service, and of course, they're the only ones who are authorized to do our letter of direction trading. They trade my accounts, and they've got some great new managed futures projects you might want to check out. But as I said, okay, we continue to see we're being sold down the river, okay, and of course OPEC is back in control, as we've talked about, and of course you know after last week's big beatdown in oil, and it was actually only a one-day beatdown, that they'll be back in cutting supply. You know, for those of you who forget the early days of OPEC, they are full on going to stick it up our you-know-what, okay? There is no doubt about it. Of course, the politicians on both sides of the aisle will get their fair share from the American taxpayer, which is just another thing that'll have to be funded by the taxpayer. You know, if you think that this government stimulus is free, you're living in another world, because the only way it gets paid for is because the government creates nothing, does nothing, but create debt. Okay? You know, again, I've said this maybe 500 times on my shows. If you or I lived as the government does, we'd be in bankruptcy court or jail. Okay? They are running the most extravagant Ponzi scheme. Okay? Unfortunately, we have to fund it. Okay? And if you think that the Biden tax cuts, the tax hike, which is on those of us who earn $400,000 or more, okay, you can bet your ass they're going to drop to zero at some point. Then it'll be those who own $40,000 or more. There is no way that they can fund this ridiculous plan without it. Okay? Again, if you think it's doing any good, we're not creating any growth. We are creating one of the biggest bubbles of all time. That you can count on. Okay? That is your Federal Reserve at work. Okay? Another group of morons that has no clue on how an economy works, how a market works, and are still using models from 1920. Isn't it 2021 now? Okay, I mean, their models are so antiquated. If you're in a service economy, which I think that's what we are, right? We don't do anything anymore but provide a service. So if you're in a service economy, does not food and energy become part of that inflation curve, which the Fed refuses to understand or equate to? Tell me, I mean, are you not paying more for food and fuel? Okay. I mean, it doesn't count? Okay. Well, okay, let's not count it because it makes it look like we're in hyperinflation. And if you don't think we can get to hyperinflation, just watch. Okay. The whole model in which the entire system is playing under cannot work. It is a mathematical impossibility for what they're doing to ever have any chance of working. Now, it doesn't mean it won't pop up the stock market for a little bit longer. Okay, we're long, and we'll get that in our market report. But it doesn't mean it can't pump the markets up. But think about this, right? You had a promise from the new administration that they were there for the small guy, okay? Well, all they have done since they have been in office is help the big guy, okay? And destroy, not only ruin, but destroy the small guy. So the big guys are having a party, okay? Because they're making a fortune right now, either borrowing at ridiculously low rates or and putting it into the markets, okay, or whatever they're doing, versus the little guys that continue to struggle just to make their payments to get the work. We still don't have most of the schools open, which is a union problem, which we'll talk about in our commentary. But overall, I mean, if you look around, you'll see that there are so many issues out there, yet housing is at record highs. How does it work? I want to know how we can not be working and have high unemployment and the highest it's been. Thank you, Mr. Biden. The highest it's been, okay, and yet we have home sales going through the roof. How does that work? Where does that money come from? Okay, but I think you can see, and as I said earlier, I think the bond vigilantes were going to beat the Fed here. And you can see one major step that has already happened. Okay, on Friday morning, okay, the Fed stopped their SLR program, which is that when they lifted the limits off of banks what they could lend. Okay, now again, what did that do? Well, it's going to bring their reins in a little bit, but the banks have already got so much money on the street, okay, and there's so much exposure and risk. Okay, that when they blow up, guess what? Okay, just look for a higher tax bill once again. Now, hopefully, when this does blow up, because it will blow up. Okay, and again, I have no idea when, and as I said, we're long, so I have no idea when. But it will blow up. But hopefully, at least maybe we'll get smart and let the businesses that are not surviving and the banks that are not in it properly, they won't bail them out again. I mean, isn't it silly that we continue to bail out failing businesses? Where is our bailout when we're failing? Okay. I mean, I'd like to know where the Fed was in 2008 when GE Capital called in all our notes. Okay. And they weren't small notes either. Okay. For all the homes we owned outside of, in different parts of the country. Where was the Fed for us? Oh, that's right. Screw you. Well, that's what you're always going to end up with. So, you want to continue to believe into the greatest con job ever given. Okay, this Ponzi scheme is so big that it'll be out of control before you know it. And like I said, you can see it with the SLR program. You can see it with the bond market, who is continuing to battle the Federal Reserve. And again, remember, the bond market can beat the Fed because they're going to squeeze them until they bleed. There's going to be you can see the panic in the bond and the Fed already. Again, with the changing some of the rules already, so we know that it's only a matter of time. Now, again, how long? I can't ever say. I don't know. I would love to know when. Okay, but you can't predict when that will end. Okay, but what you can see is a 10-year that went from 0.25 to 1.75 is a gargantuan move. Okay, and listen, not only do you have that, but you now are starting to see some major protests around the globe about ruining our children's lives. Okay, because they're not letting them go to school. Now, again, you don't want to go to work as a teacher? Don't. But why can't we get people that will at least go supervise these kids? They need the social skills. They need to develop those at a young age. It's sad enough what has happened to this country and the world in general with all this technology where nobody has to talk to anybody anymore. But when you now take away the skill of at least learning, you have got a much bigger problem. So don't be surprised to see a revisit to the stagflation, inflation, hyperinflation era of the Carter years. Okay. I mean, look, you've already got Manhattan. Now, again, many people that I respect have said to me they think Manhattan will come back. Well, I'm seeing stories now that over 2/3 of the people that support the city of Manhattan will not be going back into the city. Well, who's going to create the business in there? Who is going to create the business for the restaurants and for everybody else? So again, as you can see, between the New York's government and the federal government, they have done a great job at ruining. I don't like New York, but many love it and think it's the greatest city on earth. Okay, hey, I have no problem with you believing that, but in the meantime, it's now been destructed, and it doesn't look like it's coming back so fast. And of course, I'm sure the theater will come back, maybe. Okay, but what you're seeing is a city that will never be the same and never recover because of the decisions that were made throughout this pandemic, which, who knows where we really are within it. I don't have the answer to that. And I was vaccinated, but again, I was never concerned and I never thought it was much, but why not take it? I'm going to take it eventually. I might as well take it when I get the opportunity. But again, we've got a con job by a president that has no clue of where he's at. Did you see his interview? Okay. Does he know? I mean, again, you don't have to think that I'm criticizing him because he's on the other side. I don't have an opinion on the side. I think both sides stink. Okay. So you don't have to worry about me being sad, but did you notice that he didn't even know where he was half the time? Okay. And he doesn't have a clue. I mean, that should worry you considering that he's got his fingers and the codes to launch the nuclear weapons. I mean, one might think that you would like to have somebody who is somewhat coherent, okay? But of course, it shows you how far we have fallen when the truth of the matter is nobody really wants to be the president of the United States, okay? When the brightest, youngest minds have no interest in getting there. Okay, because just take a look at the candidates from both parties. Again, I'm not picking any party. Take a listen to the candidates from both parties. Is that the best America can do? It's pretty sad when you think about it. Are guys like Cuomo the best that we can do, or what's the guy from California? I forgot his name, or the person from Chicago, and many others? Is that the best we can do to take care of our countries and take care of our people? Look, we got big problems. High unemployment, yet banks are lending like crazy. How are the people going to pay these loans back? That's an issue. And I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But I'll tell you one thing, okay? It's certainly going to be a big boom, I think, for the cryptocurrencies, okay? It's going to be a big shock for Americans when suddenly we go from unemployment that's already bad and it becomes a disaster when many companies are going to probably have to shut down because of the destruction that has been caused. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 21st. We're in the NCAA tourney time, and what a great time it is, and already some big upsets. We'll have our selections for you after we're through here. In the meantime, don't forget about our other brokerage partner at Tradier, and of course, Tradier Brokerage for equities and options. And again, we do have other brokers, but we do want to remind you that Tradier has got great customer service. They're $10 a month. We've got their APIs, which allows us to automate completely through them. So if you want, and it's totally your choice. There is not a requirement. You don't have to sign up for it. It's free. Okay. It comes with your brokerage account. Okay. With your membership to Bubba Trading. And you can have your whole equity options auto-traded based on our formulas. And of course, our partners from Family Farms. I mean, what a great group of people there. We all have the same goals, trying to make sure we help our farmers get more out of their crop and protect themselves to downside risk, but while never giving up the upside potential profits. And of course, our commodity report, Andy Hecht, what a great job he does, Technomental. And again, we've broken it down into several components that you can buy independently if you'd like, and if you don't want the whole report. So a lot of things, go to BubbaTrading.com, Technomental, and of course our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. And one more thing, yesterday we did a great webinar on our day trading futures class. if you have any interest in learning or want to learn about day trading, you can just email me and I'll send you the recording. Okay, but it was a very good webinar, a lot of good people, and a lot of people loved it. So if you want to check it out, hey, just send me an email. Other than that, we'll get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line, Todd Bubba Horowitz. It is Sunday, March the 21st, and it was an interesting week for markets and an interesting week for us, and pretty much of an ugly week for us. Took a little hickey. Okay, but hey, look at. Again, if you think there's never any losers, you're buying into something that's a bunch of crap, okay? Because there's always the potential loss in markets. There's always the potential to lose money, okay? And if you don't think so, well, you're being a fool. Because, again, anybody who tells you different is a liar. That's as simple as that. In the meantime, this segment is being brought to you by one of our brokerage partners, which is Tradier. Okay, again, Tradier Brokerage. We do have other equity brokers, but Tradier for equities and options, $10 a month. That's the biggest story. But great customer service, which is great in this industry because you need it. And of course, we have their APIs, which allows you on your choice if you'd like to automate our portfolio models. You don't have to. It is no requirement. It comes with your membership. It's free. Okay? So that is always up to you. In the meantime, the markets are crazy. But net, they were slightly lower. They did trap us a little bit. We were short. We're now long. Now, the Dow, the Russell, and the S&P all made new all-time highs. Okay? The NASDAQ did not. And I think, as we said last week, although we're now long on NASDAQ, which with great pain, okay, but the NASDAQ looks possibly like it's making a lower high, which would not be a good sign and could indicate that the end is nearer than we think. Now, again, we don't predict, and of course, I said we're long across the board, but it was a rough week because, again, we didn't go very many places at all. I mean, we weren't down dramatically, and we certainly weren't higher. So we are where we are. And, of course, the same thing goes for the precious metals. We are still short gold, and we are still short silver. Platinum, we no longer trade, but the signal is short if you do. So, but, again, they really look awful. Okay, now, again, that can change at any moment. But the metals themselves look awful and like they want to go much lower. Now, we're short. So, obviously, and I'm not basing it on my opinion. I am basing it on A, we are short, the algorithm, and B, they just don't look very good. Okay, you saw one attempt to get 1750 out, and that was overnight in gold. So, we'll stay short. Now, again, who knows when it's going to change, but I want to remind you, okay, I am speaking to you here as a trader. Okay, as an investor, I'm always long or always own physical metals, gold, silver, and platinum. Okay, always. I don't sell it. I never sell it. I only buy it. So just remember, trading is one vehicle and investing is another. Okay, crude. Well, I mean, we have the crooks at OPEC in full command, and they let the price fall a bit. Went down it was down at one time, I think on Thursday, down almost $7 at one point for the day. Closed down about 5.5. It looks bad. We're now short, but of course you got a little spike rally on Friday, which was certainly predictable. Okay, but overall, I mean, again, they're not going to let it go too far down, and there's a real chance you'll see $100 crude again. They'll create a shortage, but you kind of knew and you could kind of see by the pattern, it was in that what we call backwardation, where the expensive was the front month, which was May, and going out a year was like $2 cheaper. So, we'll see how it plays out, but we know that we're at a big disadvantage since we are no longer the manufacturer or the creator or the drillers for oil. Okay. So again, but we are short. Copper, slightly lower for the week. We're short. And really, there was nothing major last week in any market. So you remember, so we're short there. Nat gas was lower slightly. We're short nat gas. The bond markets and notes, well, they're fighting the Fed like crazy. And, look, as I said in the opening, 0.25 to 1.75 is a gargantuan move. And the bond market, because it is the biggest market in the world, and it's the fixed income market is what it's known as. And again, every country has fixed income and their own bonds, and they are pressing, and I'm telling you, they're going to make the Fed balk because they can put enough pressure on because of their size and because the Fed has already basically emptied a big portion of its gun other than more printing, and who knows how much more they can allow them to do. So in the meantime, we're still short, but just think of it this way. Look at the chart. It's going straight down. When you're getting in, immediately there's 120 billion of inflow coming in from the Federal Reserve. Doesn't look good. Okay. The dollar is slightly higher for the week. We're long dollars, but they're not going anywhere. This is, again, as I said, everything is kind of in nowhere's land right now. Okay. What's the Beatles song? Nowhere Man in Nowhere's Land, whatever. I mean, that's where we are in most markets at the moment. The grains are no different with the exception of wheat. Wheat has now broken to the downside, so we're now short wheat. Okay. But cotton. But beans and corn remain strong and just in a consolidation pattern. I think that you could look for those to break to the upside. I expect wheat to come back as well. But right now the pattern, and so we are, is short, and so we're short. But overall, again, I would expect to see, I think the grains have a lot of room to go on the upside. I think that, you'll get a much bigger rally, but for now we'll be short one and long the other two. And the meats, hogs, listen, they continue to go higher. Okay. July hogs get over 100 or over $1. And, listen, it was a higher week in the hog markets. Cattle's a little bit lower, but cattle is just vacillating in consolidation. Okay. And again, I keep saying this, but it looks to me that the cattle markets are setting up to be in a very similar position as the grain markets were before they exploded to the upside. So again, we'll see. Right now we're long, okay, and it's that simple, okay. And if we change, I'll let you know. I mean, again, I texted out, I tweeted, I can put it up, okay. And in the softs department, cotton was weak, we're short. Coffee was weak, we're short. OJ had a nice move at the end of the week, we were long. Sugar is short and was nicely down for the weekend. Of course, now cocoa we will be reversing tomorrow. Okay, I do it tonight, except we're not open. They have the country club hours there. But anyways, we'll be reversing cocoa to shorts, okay, which will make us obviously more short. And again, I think, commodities overall are probably a pretty good spot to be in. But again, we're going to follow the signals under any circumstances. We never battle the signals. Okay, it just doesn't make sense. Okay, and, the cryptos continue to be hot. And I think they're only going to get hotter. I mean, if you look at the market cap, it was just not that long ago when they couldn't get over $1 trillion. Well, now they're close to $2 trillion. Okay. Now, it doesn't sound like much. It's still smaller than an apple. But at the end of the day, okay, you're seeing more demand. And of course, why? Well, just take a look at what the central banks and the government is doing. Do you really trust a system that continues to devalue the money that's sitting in your pocket? Okay. I find it hard to do so. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be back with my commentary right after the break. And, of course, my NCAA basketball selections for today. Well, kids, again, as we talk about often, our friends at Family Farms, we're partners and do things together. And, it's so nice to see. I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel as they start to open up more. And it couldn't be at a better time as we're going into grilling season and to, and usage and the appetite to get out of the house is exploding. Okay. I went by a shopping mall the other day that was packed. Okay. Now, anyways, so I think you're going to see a big boom for the farm products. But again, our job is to help educate farmers and help them reduce their risk while never taking away their upside. And of course, our other brokerage partner, who is our preferred futures broker. Now, again, we have other futures accounts as well. But CTG Group, again, they're in Chicago. Actually, they're in Lyle, but you couldn't look them up. But the CTG Group is phenomenal. They've got great customer service. They answer the phone. You don't get a voicemail there. Okay, they execute for my accounts because that's how good they are, and they've got a great program. Okay, and they've also got some new futures products as well and by executing my stuff. So again, I have to have faith in what they're doing, and I do. I think they're tremendous. Okay, and of course our commodity report written by Andy Hecht. If you have never looked at Andy's bio, I urge you to check him out. Okay, you can look at see him at Seeking Alpha or on bar charts, but he understands the industry and the business, and that's what all you're trying to get to is to get the right answers without any BS. Okay, it's called Technomental. You can check it out at BUBBATrading.com, and of course our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/BubbaTrading. And yesterday we did a great webinar on our day trading services. If you'd like to check it out, it's free to check out. Just send me an email at bubba@BubbaTrading.com. I'll be more than happy to send you the recording. And of course, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary and my NCAA selections. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, March the 21st, and I'm tired. It's only Sunday. I'm already tired. Anyways, I tell you, I'm so disappointed in our teachers' unions. I'm so disappointed in the unions in general. Look, when unions were first created, very much like minimum wage, they were needed. They were desperately needed because workers were being taken advantage of. Well, obviously, over the years, the tables have turned. So now the employees are getting taken advantage of, but really, it isn't the employers who's getting screwed. It's us. Once again, remember, it always trickles down to the taxpayers, okay? And we are the taxpayers. So all of the bad deals that are being made, okay, and again, these unions have too much control and too much power. I mean, from the baseball and football unions, well, football sucks. The football's got the worst union in anything, okay? But from baseball, basketball, but I'm talking about the regular unions that we see every day, the wages that they have to pay, okay? And again, it's more about their pensions. And you've seen that many of these pension models are going to bust out. What do you think is going to happen the next time? Because of somehow they create a lot of very wealthy people out of these union dues, okay? And, and it's not, the money is not flowing back to the worker there. But what do you think is going to happen when these pension funds blow up, like CalPERS, okay? Yeah, California pension. I mean, there's pensions that are in big trouble already. What do you think is going to happen if the market has a meltdown? But I think that the unions have to be redistributed and redone because the money is far too great. And it would be one thing if it was going to the employee, but it isn't. It's getting clogged up through too many pockets on the way down. Okay. Now, again, I'm a fan of the worker and I'm a fan of a reasonable union, but unfortunately, reasonable is one thing and ridiculous is another. And I think we've gotten to the point of ridiculous because I think what you're seeing, okay, is monies that have to be paid out that unfortunately, if they got to the worker, hey, price discovery, charge what you can get. But when it doesn't get that far down, I think that creates a bigger problem. And I think that's why we need to rebuild and have these redone, okay? Because then we would see and get fairer wages and actually the employee would get paid, which is who should get the money. In the meantime, of course, it's been pretty wild in the NCAA tournament already, but I think, as I said on Friday when we kicked off for our first 3 selections, 2 out of 3 we won, I said that I thought that it would be kind of wild in the first 2 rounds, which it is. And I think now you'll see more chalk because I don't think there's going to be that many. I think the lack of fans will create many of the dogs from now covering through and running over any of the favorites. So today we like the Baylor Bears, laying 6. We like the Fighting Illini against a real scrappy Loyola team, okay? And we like Oklahoma State today. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you for participating. And if you like my opinion, great. If you don't, hey, you can let me know. I am an American that believes in the freedom of speech. You have a disagreement with me? Hey, you want to make a reasonable argument? I'll be happy to respond and talk to you. If you want to be a putz, don't bother. But if you want to be reasonable, listen, I believe everybody's entitled to their opinion, no matter whether it agrees with mine or not. I think that's the beauty of being an American, and I hope to last at least for the rest of my life, because it doesn't look very good. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with a Bubba's Daily Update. Take care, everybody.